Ladies and gentlemen, our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is back. He's going to teach the press a little something about the region. I'm Tal the Traveling Clat, your favorite white colonizer. Get the merch in the description down below, thetravelingclat.com, and let's jump right into this clip.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Given what the IPC says is the unfolding spectre of famine in the Gaza Strip, would you accept that your 11-week blockade, complete blockade on Gaza, played a role in that? And also, given the killings that we have seen at the GHF aid sites, how will you guarantee that that kind of disaster will not happen when you have 1 million more people displaced? Thank you.
Well, number one, the problem that we had was trying to stop Hamas looting. There's no question there was Hamas looting. Everybody saw it. You could see it. Hamas, terrorists taking over trucks and so on. We tried to do two things simultaneously. Stop the trucks and bring in the trucks through the GHF distribution points. Okay. It wasn't successful. And it wasn't successful, among other things, because Hamas interdicted also the GHF program, the distribution point. So Hamas created this problem, and it was directed against us. Immediately, we have a starvation policy, which is completely false. Any more than we have a genocide policy, which is equally false. We don't. Not this, not that. I don't know of a country that texts millions of messages to civilians to get out of harm's way, giving up the element of surprise, or calling them individually on cell phones. Yet Israel is accused of genocide. It's absurd. Or starvation policy. But there was a problem of deprivation. No question about it. And so we had to solve it. And the way we solve it is the way I described it to you. And there are now not zero trucks, but at least in, I think last time I checked, hundreds of trucks that went into Gaza. That's alleviating the situation. Now we want to increase the number of distribution sites. So there's not, basically you answer this problem, or you solve this problem by the law of supply and demand. If you have a lot of supply, if you flood Gaza with food, which some of it will be pilfered, there's no way to get around that, will be looted by Hamas, but you'll have, if enough food reaches the marketplace, so to speak, then you'll see a difference. And you know what the difference is? How do we know for sure there's a difference?
How?
Because we monitor, as any one of you could, the price of food in Gaza. It's plummeted. It's plummeted ever since that we decided to take to do the humanitarian surge. And it'll plummet more if other countries join us. So I called on other countries to join in the airdrops. I actually called them to help persuade the UN to move those trucks, because every truck that goes in brings down the price of food. That's what happens. And when you have no shortage like that, then you don't have also the crowding around distribution points. And by the way, a lot of the firing was done by Hamas, seeking to have response by our forces, and very often they didn't. They held back. They stayed their fire, even though their own lives were on the line. Yeah.
We're done. Thank you, Prime Minister.
We're done? Well, I couldn't resist that one. Who?
Matthew Doran from ABC Australia.
Oh, okay.
Matthew Doran from ABC Australia.
Yeah.
You've seen countries such as the UK, Canada, France say that they will support Palestinian statehood in the next short while. You've described that as a reward for Hamas here. Other countries like Australia are also walking down this path, not quite there yet. How much of this is a reward for Hamas, and how much of it is actually countries like those who have repeatedly said Israel does have a right to defend itself, but are now struggling to stomach what they're seeing you and your military doing in Gaza?
Well, first of all, those who say that Israel has a right to defend itself are also saying, but don't exercise that right. When we do what any country would do faced with this genocidal terrorist organization that has performed the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, I think we're actually applying force judiciously, and they know it. They know what they would do if right next to Melbourne or right next to Sydney you had this horrific attack. So I think you would do it, at least what we're doing, probably maybe not as efficiently and as precisely as we're doing it. We've lost quite a few soldiers in that effort. But that's the first thing. I think that the second thing you ask is Palestinian state. Well, the assumption, the prevailing assumption in this is that the problem that we have with the Palestinians is the absence of a Palestinian state. And if they were given a Palestinian state, they would stop the efforts to destroy the Jewish state. But the Palestinians were offered a state many times, including in the partition resolution, and they turned it down. They were offered statehood by my predecessors with lavish concessions. They turned it down. Because the Palestinians are not about creating a state, they're about destroying a state. That's why they opposed the Jewish national movement to create a state. It's called Zionism. They opposed it before the inception of the Jewish state, and they've opposed it since. They've opposed it when they had the Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, and Gaza in their hold. They didn't say, let's create a state there. They didn't say that. Because again, their goal is the destruction of a state. It defies imagination or understanding how intelligent people around the world, okay, including seasoned diplomats, government leaders, and respected journalists, fall for this absurdity. It's so easy to verify, you know. And look at the PA, okay? Look at the Palestinian national movement today is divided, okay? Divided between two forces, okay? The Palestinian Authority in Judea and Samaria and Hamas in Gaza, okay? Hamas in Gaza had a de facto state. It had a state. And it used it to launch a war of terror against Israel because their doctrine is that the destruction of Israel should proceed with forceful and direct military and terrorist moves. That's what they did on October 7th. And that's what they'll do again if we don't destroy them. The Palestinian Authority, on the other hand, says no. First, Israel has to be reduced to indefensible boundaries. You've got to get them out with the ICC, with the UN, with the Security Council resolutions, drive them to indefensible boundaries, and then deliver the blow, because Israel is too strong in its present configuration. These discussions are open, they're held. Anybody, you don't need Israeli intel for it, believe me, okay? You can just scour the web, you'll find it, okay? So they have no difference about the goal. That's why the Palestinian children in Judea and Samaria and the Palestinian children, that is the Palestinian children under the PA and the Palestinian children under Hamas, are educated with exactly the same textbooks.
Yep,
that's why the PA calls its public squares against mass killers of Jews. That's why they have pay for slay. The more Jews you murder, the more you get paid, or your family gets paid. I mean, so that's the crux of the problem. The real reason that this conflict persists is not because of the absence of a Palestinian state, but the persistent Palestinian refusal to recognize a Jewish state in any boundary, okay? Now, when you give them a Palestinian state, when they haven't abandoned the goal of destroying the Jewish state, all you're doing is you're bringing the next war closer. Again, Hamas had a state. You just brought the war closer. And if you did the same thing in Judea and Samaria, right above Tel Aviv, enveloping Jerusalem, some say cutting Jerusalem into two, that's all that's going to happen. You're going to have the radicals again take it over, Iran take it over, and start a state from improved boundaries, start a war with improved boundaries. That's not going to happen. I think the solution to this problem is that the Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves in the places where they live and none of the powers to threaten Israel. They should obviously reform their whole education system. They should reform their whole historical outlook and say, all right, you know, we accept that Israel is here to stay, not as a fact, as a physical or geographic fact, but as a fact of historical equity. You know, if they want to live here next to us, they have to stop seeking our destruction. And to give them an independent state with all the trimmings, okay, is to invite a future war and a certain war. Mm-hmm. And that's something that today the Israeli public forcefully opposes. Before the war, by the way, it was about, you know, two-thirds in the overall population. Probably 60-40, or even more, sorry, against in the Jewish population. But now it's changed more dramatically. I mean, we had a vote in the Knesset a few months ago about the possibility of, you know, having a Palestinian state. And the result was 99-9. 99-9. And that covers a very broad spectrum. And today, most of the Jewish public is committed is against the Palestinian state for the simple reason that they know it won't bring peace, it'll bring war. To have European countries and Australia march into that, rabbit hole, just like that, fall right into it, and buy this canard is disappointing. And I think it's...
BB said shit.
and Australia march into that, rabbit hole, just like that, fall right into it, and buy this canard is disappointing. And I think it's actually shameful, but it's not going to change our position. Again, we will not commit national suicide to get a good op-ed for 2 minutes.
Well, God bless. He's absolutely correct. All of us reject the Palestinian state. Now, even a lot of the Arabs in Israel will tell you, nah, fuck it. Nah, it's not worth it. They're just going to fucking kill us. Not worth it. I need you to really process this with me real quick, okay? Anybody, if you're still on the fringes of a two-state, and I know many of you who follow me and listen to me probably are not, but if you happen to be, you know what? Let's take a vote real quick because I'll try to pay attention to the comments of this video. Right now, if you believe in a two-state solution still, comment down below in the description or in the comments, write, I believe in a two-state solution. And then I'm going to give you my assessment, my analysis about it. Tell me if you still believe in a two-state solution after I say this, okay? Write it, and then I want you to respond. I still believe in a two-state solution, or I don't believe in a two-state solution anymore after your compelling take, Tal. If Palestinians were to receive a two-state solution today, and let's say the borders of the West Bank were chopped up and some cities would stay as Israeli territory, but for the most part, Judea and Samaria would go towards a future Palestinian state. What happens on day one? Do you think that based on the track record of Palestinians say, you know what? Democracy, equal rights for the Christians. If Jews stayed there to live, which they wouldn't be allowed, but let's just say they were, we'll give them equal rights. The synagogues, the kosher supermarkets, they would all remain open for business? Or would they follow suit in the exact track record of what happened in Gaza, and on day one go on a crusade to murder every single Jew that remained there, destroy every single synagogue and kosher supermarket or Jewish store, move into the houses, Islamify them, and then continue to oppress any other ethnic minorities that may be living there, or they happen to be Druze or Christian? Not that there are many. Now, if you say that's not what they would do, what's your proof? Because my proof is the vast majority of the population in the West Bank love Hamas. That's the reason why they have not held elections, why the Palestinian Authority has not held elections in almost 20 years. It is because the Palestinian Authority knows that the second they relinquish power, the first people being voted in is Hamas, and they want to remain in power. So if you know they love Hamas as the people, they love the ideology, what would they do on day one of receiving a Palestinian state? Fantastic. So now they've destroyed all Jewish presence in the land. Now they've converted all the synagogues into mosques or burnt them down. The kosher supermarkets are gone. And any Jew that was crazy enough to stay there has now fled for their life back to Israel. What do you think they do next? They now have unfettered access to Jordan, which has unfettered access to Iraq, which has unfettered access to Iran. Just look at a map. West Bank, Jordan, Iraq, Iran. Pew! What happens? Do you think that weapons from Iran don't start getting smuggled in? There's not going to be any more Israeli intelligence on that border. Okay, you say that's not going to happen. Let's go with your idea. What happened between Egypt and Gaza? Did Egyptians smuggle in weapons, North Korean weaponry, Chinese trucks, Russian guns through tunnels in Egypt into Gaza? Do we have peace with Egypt? Yes. We have peace with Jordan? Yes. Do you catch what I'm saying here? Why would you expect giving a Palestinian state status right now and saying, here, there's going to be a Palestine, what do you think would be different about what happened in Gaza? Do you want another Gaza? Because the track record is, if you give Palestinians a state, which they did with Gaza, they will use the state to attack Israel. And this time, they'll be stronger. They're not going to win. They're still going to lose, but they will try to kill many Jews in the process. Why would you want that? A Palestinian state doesn't secure Palestinian lives. It just secures you another war. You haven't even finished this war. Why do you want to start another one? Palestinians are not going to idly sit by in the West Bank and say, hurrah, we have our state now. Their idea is from the river to the sea. They will try to accomplish that, this time with tanks and with planes and with helicopters and with ballistic missiles. And what will Israel have to do? It will have to destroy the Palestinian state. Again. Where's the logic? Palestinians will not peacefully be our neighbors. Don't believe me. Ask them. Fuck what I say. I always tell you, don't believe me. Type on YouTube right now, Corey Gill Schuster, Ask Project. Go watch 10 videos. Take an hour out of your life. Go watch 10 videos. You tell me if Palestinians would live in a state. Don't believe me. I did my homework. I went. I filmed videos with Corey in Ramallah. I've been into Palestine. I asked them. Don't believe what I have to say. Go learn for yourself. And you tell me, would Palestinians live side by side with Jews in a state? The answer is they would not. Now let me know in the comments below. Do you still believe in a two-state solution? We'll see you guys in the next one. Love you a long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.